They don't notice it happening, not at first. But the higher their world rises, the more the ground beneath them quietly disappears. Their money grows, their control expands. And without realizing it, their sense of social reality begins to fade. Not because they're bad people, but because the human brain isn't built for that level of power, pressure, and isolation. Let's break down the real psychology behind billionaires who disconnect from social reality without even knowing it. 1. Success-induced tunnel vision. Extreme achievement narrows focus. When someone builds massive wealth, their brain becomes trained to chase goals, not feelings. They stop noticing small social cues because their attention stays locked on outcomes, growth, and efficiency. People become data. Time becomes a currency. Psychologists say high performers often lose social awareness when their reward system gets rewired for productivity over connection. And that's a subtle sign of higher strategic intelligence. 2. The echo chamber effect. Billionaires rarely hear the word no. As they rise, people around them adjust their behavior so feedback becomes softer, filtered, or completely missing. Over time, they stop sensing the emotional temperature of a room. They assume agreement, even when there isn't any. Research shows that power reduces a person's ability to read facial expressions and emotional signals. And that's a subtle sign of strong internal conviction. 3. Emotional distance as protection. Massive responsibility comes with massive pressure. To survive it, many billionaires detach emotionally. They create a mental gap between themselves and the world because feeling everything would slow them down. They get used to decisions that affect thousands, so they stop feeling the weight of individual experiences. Studies from behavioral economics show that emotional distance increases as responsibility grows. And that's a subtle sign of advanced psychological resilience. 4. The disconnect from everyday struggle. When someone's basic needs stopped being a worry years ago, their brain adjusts. They forget what normal problems feel like. Money stops being emotional. Stress becomes strategic. Daily inconveniences disappear. So their reference point for reality shifts far away from everyone else's. Psychologists say that when life gets too optimized, empathy becomes abstract instead of personal. And that's a subtle sign of high-level adaptability. 5. Information overload numbness. People at the top handle more information in a week than most people handle in months. Financial reports, legal updates, market shifts, global decisions. The mind learns to filter aggressively. It stops reacting emotionally to anything that isn't urgent or actionable. Research shows that chronic information overload reduces emotional responsiveness over time. And that's a subtle sign of enhanced cognitive efficiency. 6. The problem solver identity. Billionaires often define themselves by one thing: solving problems. When this identity becomes dominant, emotional experiences get treated like puzzles instead of human moments. Conversations become negotiations. Relationships become systems. Feelings turn into variables. Psychologists say that high-control personalities intellectualize emotions to stay functional under pressure. And that's a subtle sign of strong analytical intelligence. 7. Isolation hidden in luxury. The richer someone becomes, the smaller their circle gets, not because they want isolation, but because trust becomes rare, privacy becomes essential, and unexpected intentions surround them. Most people can't relate to their lifestyle, their stress, or their world. So they drift into a mental island where normal social dynamics no longer apply. Studies on wealth and loneliness show that extreme success often leads to unintentional emotional isolation. And that's a subtle sign of deep inner independence. 8. The control reflex. When someone spends years influencing outcomes with money, strategy, or power, their brain gets used to control. So normal unpredictability, traffic, delays, human emotions feels foreign. They forget what it's like to navigate life without influence. Their expectations shift. Their reactions shift. Their patience shifts. Psychologists say that long-term power reshapes the brain's expectation of how the world should respond. And that's a subtle sign of strong personal authority. 9. Living in a future-driven mind. Billionaires think years ahead, decades ahead. Their attention lives in the future, not the present. So everyday experiences feel distant, like they're happening on a delay. Ordinary life looks small compared to the scale of their plans. The present moment becomes something they visit, not somewhere they live. Research shows that long-term strategic thinkers experience less emotional grounding in daily life. And that's a subtle sign of higher visionary intelligence. Here's the truth most people never realize. When someone rises to the top, they don't disconnect from reality because they're arrogant. They disconnect because their psychology adapts to the world they must survive in. Their focus sharpens, their circle shrinks, their emotional filter tightens. Their mind becomes future-driven, strategy-focused, and insulated from noise. So if you think in big systems, if you detach under pressure, if you drift into your own mental world when responsibilities get heavy, don't think you're out of touch or uncaring. You might just be more strategic, more resilient, and more visionary than most people online. That's real power. If you love decoding why people think and behave the way they do, hit subscribe right now, because on this channel we don't just scroll through lives, we decode minds.